We're here today with Kevin Curtis. He is the Executive Vice President of the Wilbur Curtis Corporation. As you know, they're manufacturers of brewers, one of the largest and most important members of the specialty coffee industry and the coffee industry in general. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Tell us something about Curtis and where you've been and where you're going.
Well, thank you. Yes, Wilbur Curtis has been in business since 1941. We just celebrated our 71st anniversary, and we've basically been involved with 4 generations, and what we really base our business on is digital technology today to keep coffee at the perfect serving temperature and also at the peak of its freshness by timing out the coffee. So we really develop machines that are going to be great for the user and great for the roaster at the same time.
You've been an innovator for quite some time. Can you give us a little timeline of the innovation that you've done?
Well, we started out many years ago just with glass coffee pots. That was my grandfather's time. And then how I got involved in the business, I was actually sailing through New Zealand, and I saw our equipment at the airport in Auckland, and it was our first Geminis that we had gotten internationally. And so when I wrote my dad and said, boy, I can't believe I'm seeing Curtis equipment this far away from home, he said, it'd be good for you to come talk to us sometime. So the Geminis really put us on the map because it was the first twin-headed brewer where you can remove the satellites and keep the coffee fresh for a couple hours and put them in the remote serving stands. So from there we actually got into digital about 13 years ago. Then we got into what we call Bubbaccino machines, which was revolutionary for the convenience store market. We then did ISO 9001. We were the first company to get our quality ISO degree back in 1997 as a commercial coffee equipment manufacturer in the United States. And then we got into Kaizen and lean manufacturing principles. So when you come to Curtis, which I would welcome anybody to do, you'll really see a very clean operation with very little waste and a lot of passion at the company.
Well, you have two new products, important products, which are very innovative and very new. I'd love to have you show them to us.
We'd love to, yes. One is the Gold Cup, Curtis Gold Cup coffee brewer. It's a single cup coffee brewer that can be profiled for Gold Cup recipes without any waste. And the other one is what we call the Curtis IntelliFresh, and it's a closed loop digital system that keeps coffee at the desired temperature within 2 degrees with a freshness timer. So it's really a lot of fun. Yeah. So how we came up on the Gold Cup coffee series is we've been asked over the past to do Gold Cup certification at certain properties with coffee companies. 2 years ago we were asked to do Madonna's Hotel in South Beach, Florida called Delano's. The problem is when they're brewing Gold Cup coffee, they have to put so much coffee in the basket, which is good for everybody and great for roasters, but over a gallon and a half time, even if it's thermal, when it gets cold, you'll have waste. So what we designed was the Curtis Gold Cup brewer so that we could actually develop Gold Cup recipes by throwing a little extra coffee, a little more than an ounce per cup, but because you'd have no waste, the cost factor is not a big part of that. So what we're doing, we just put fresh ground coffee, in this case, just 1 ounce and 2/10. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this Melita 4 filter into a very specialized brew cone that we've patented. What we've done is we've developed the straights because people understand when they do a pour over coffee, if it's not done correctly, they can actually have filter fold. So with this, the filter paper is actually going to, once filled with coffee and once we start to pre-wet it, it'll actually fill up and not fold over or put grounds in the coffee. Now I'm going to press, we have 4 different coffees that we've served today, and I'm going to press the one that's actually correlated to this coffee that we've just ground. Now I'm going to push either 12, 16, or 20 ounces, which the machine is now programmed for, and I'm doing a 16-ounce pour. Basically what's going to happen is we've actually started brewing the coffee. The patent is part of this siphon system, and what's happening, most people understand that when you start to brew coffee, whether it's hand pour or even a coffee machine, that the strongest coffee starts at the beginning and the weaker coffee is at the end. By us waiting and delaying with this siphon system, the coffee basket is filling up with water, thus coffee, and when it gets over into the siphon, it'll start to drop. So once that starts to drop during the pre-infusion process, What's going to happen is at the very end, the other great beautiful thing about this is when the coffee gets below that siphon system, what happens is it stops dropping without any drips. Hardly will you ever find a coffee brewer that doesn't drip. And the reason we wanted to do that is because we understand that it'll be in a lot of fine dining, white tablecloth dining situations where if you had a drip on the bottom of a beautiful ceramic cup and you gave it to a gentleman with a tie or a lady with a blouse, you could have coffee staining their dress and suits. So basically what we're doing now is the siphon cuts off and there's not a drip at all. So it's very clean for offices or office coffee, or if you're going to do white tablecloth, or even in a retail situation where you're upselling coffee for $1.50 more, which people are starting to do. So they'll do their big blends of coffee in retail applications with a 1.5 gallon or gallon brewer, and when they have a very specialized coffee, they'll actually charge $1.50 more per cup and make a special issue of it because it's really going to be the nuances of the coffee coming out of a single Gold Cup brewer. We also utilize the Generation 4 in this brewer because it's easy to do programming with an on-screen display. So you can set recipes like we've done up to 48 coffees, and all you do is press the button and then after you've loaded the coffee. The other beauty of this machine is it's got self-diagnostics like scale warnings and things like that where you have hard water. It'll tell you when you have 90% occlusion on the heating elements and inside the brewer so you know to call to clean. Also, the great thing is if you're a larger chain we're talking to some larger chains, when you're a larger chain that's rolled out with this, if your roaster has limited time offering coffees or very special coffees, but they know it's only going to last 2 to 3 months, what they can do is develop the coffee recipe back at the roasting plant or at the corporate offices, and once they've developed that recipe, they can actually download it and send it via email to the store managers. All they do then is download it onto a memory stick and put it in our USB port, and each one of their stores will have the new recipe. So basically all they have to do is get the coffee there and everybody's set up on the same consistent recipe. The nice thing is and I love a hand-poured coffee, but the nice thing about it is when you hand-pour coffee, the water either changes in temperature or you get in a hurry and so people are going very fast and it changes the consistency. With the digital controls here, basically it's consistent all the time, every time. We're going to be seeing the very final drip, and you'll see where it just drops with no drop. And it's perfect every time. One of our newest additions, and it's been out for about a year now, is our IntelliFresh system, and it's based on our Gemini platform. The difference is we have G4 programming, which gives you all the diagnostics that you need, and it'll actually go through and turn all the valves on as it starts to let you know everything's good. If it ever broke in the field, and a service technician gets a call, it'll actually highlight what's wrong with it. So if it's the left dump valve, it'll tell them so when they come out they know what to fix. Also, we have precise digital looped controls that actually take the satellite brewing system, which is 1.5 gallons in this case, and it actually, once you brew the coffee, it sets it at the ideal serving temperature that you want or at the default of the factory, and it'll hold the coffee good for a couple hours. The one thing that's great about that, where people have thermal and they have to struggle with the fact that they've either brewed 1 gallon or less than 1.5 gallons, and the brew's actually starting to cool off. With this type of system, the brew temperature is always set, so you actually get a couple of hours of fresh coffee, and we've actually brewed coffee in a coffee decanter at the end of 2 hours and compared it, and we've had panels of people try to tell which one was fresh and which one was 2 hours old. And a lot of times the panels are split. So it's just amazing that we've been able to hold the ideal serving temperature, but because timed freshness is such a big thing to us and to our customers, we actually have these set for 2 hours. So at 2 hours, the blinking light tells you it's time to rebrew and refreshing your coffee. So it really allows you to brew great coffee without having to worry about it, without having to have issues with cold coffee on the thermal or without having to have a superheat on it. So it's really a great digital loop system in our G4 IntelliFresh brewers.